For 10 years, Laura Parsons' life has been a waking nightmare. Some unseen force is slowly and methodically tearing at her mind, body, and soul. It's a deadly condition that deceives doctor after doctor.
I'm afraid you have Epstein-Barr virus.
You're just anemic, that's all.
Looks like West Nile.
Before this story ends, Laura's journey will take her halfway around the world and into her own personal hell. A physical and emotional state from which there is no escape.
Her spirit was very, very strong, but her body was just so weak and so sick.
25-year-old Laura Parsons barely notices the oppressive heat of the Dominican Republic because she's on a life-saving mission. Unable to get the antiviral treatment for a devastating illness she's endured for the past 9 years, she's made the pilgrimage to this third-world country to find a cure. Only the cure itself may very well be worse than the disease. While in her hotel room, Laura's throat swelled shut. She's barely able to dial 911 before passing out.
¿Qué tenemos aquí?
Es una mujer, edad 25 años. Fue encontrada en la habitación de su hotel, inconsciente con convulsiones. Está entubada. 1, 2 y 3.
Laura was convulsing and had a fever of 106 degrees. The doctors were desperately trying to figure out why.
¿Alérgica a la penicilina?
No sé.
Laura was fighting for her life in a third-world country. She was alone, helpless, and had no way to communicate with or understand the doctors.
¿Y la vas a compensar? Con cedrador de 500 miligramos. También necesito unos rayos X frontal y dorsal.
X-rays of Laura's lungs reveal fluid from what appears to be a bacterial infection. Doctors put her on a ventilator to help her breathe. If they don't break her fever, she'll wind up brain damaged or even dead. They pack her in ice and wait. Her vital signs slowly stabilized.
Doctor, la chica se está despertando.
Señorita, can you hear me? You have pneumonia. ¿Comprende? We have called the U.S. Embassy. They'll take you to New York. Okay? You'll be fine.
When Laura regains consciousness, she tells the doctors about her visit to a local clinic and her past medical history. They determine that she had had a severe reaction to antibiotics. Once Laura's strong enough, she calls her parents.
Ma, I have a bacterial pneumonia, and I'm down here, and I know I'm going to be all right, but it was very, very scary. Of course, it's scary when you get that kind of a phone call and somebody is in a different country.
Laura flies back home and visits a new doctor in New York. He explains what he thinks happened to her in the Dominican Republic. The antibiotics Laura was taking had killed the bacteria in her lungs. But when bacteria die, they release massive amounts of toxins into the blood. That's what appears to have caused the severe reaction.
That's what happened to you. What were you doing in the Dominican Republic?
Laura tells him that she went to Santo Domingo out of desperation. She'd been suffering from what was diagnosed as chronic fatigue immune dysfunction for 9 years, and the clinic there claimed it could help her.
The theory was by going to the Dominican Republic, she could avail herself of treatment that wasn't available in the States, that it was necessary to help her immune system. And if her immune system could be boosted, that it would fight off whatever it was that was ailing her. And unfortunately, it didn't work.
Laura explains that the clinic sent a sample of her blood to Germany to make a vaccine.
Vaccine for what?
Stealth viruses. You name it, I've had it.
Really?
The doctor believes that a bacterial infection had to have been brewing inside her for years. It's the only thing that could have caused such an extreme Herxheimer reaction. Laura is shocked. For 10 years, doctors have been telling her that she has a virus that transformed her from an athlete in love with the outdoors to a virtual invalid, too tired to get out of bed. From the very beginning, Laura's parents, Robert and Henrietta Parsons, couldn't understand the change that had come over their daughter.
It's not as if she had caught a cold and then developed things that came after that. It's just that she lost energy over a period of time, and she eventually became bedridden, and we couldn't find the reason for this. It was a big mystery to us. We didn't know what to do to help her.
For a while, in college, Laura started to feel better, but then it got much worse. The day it really hit home that something was seriously wrong was 2 years ago. It was 6 months after graduating college when Laura was driving to work. Her hands went numb. Her heart began to race. Pains were shooting down her back and the light blinded her. A couple of days after the incident, her world becomes intolerable, so Laura crawls into the closet to sleep.
Laura, what are you doing?
Don't shout, please.
What's wrong?
You kind of start feeling a little sick inside yourself as to, you see somebody you love very dearly and they're not, they're not functioning.
It was as if she had somehow left the family, because she would be in her room all the time, and I mean all the time, 24 hours a day.
Really, it kind of tears you apart inside.
Now, unable to go out in the light without wearing sunglasses, Laura saw an infectious disease doctor who told her that she had all the symptoms of full-blown AIDS. Then, another doctor tells her it's chronic fatigue syndrome. Finally, her doctor tells her it's Epstein-Barr, and it's a death sentence. Laura is devastated.
Just try to make the most of the time you have left.
Mom,
Laura calls her mother with the bad news.
I'm dying.
This doctor says I have only 2 years to live.
But Laura isn't going to wait around to die. The New York doctor that she saw after her trip to the Dominican Republic tests her for Epstein-Barr, a common virus that's a member of the herpes virus family. The test comes back positive, but there is hope.
Well, you're not going to die from Epstein-Barr. You just need to boost your immune system.
While Laura is relieved by the prognosis, Epstein-Barr doesn't fit a lot of the symptoms she's experiencing. The numbness, the pain in her joints, her sensitivity to light and sound. So she sees some new doctors and specialists who give Laura a whole new litany of diagnoses.
Lupus, Addison's disease, chronic fatigue, rheumatoid arthritis. We must have gone to about 40 doctors. It was amazing.
Now, after 8 years of suffering and scores of tests with no solid results, the next logical explanation comes hard.
You might try antidepressants for the CFS, and for the arthritis, we could put you on hydrocortisone.
And they started to label her as crazy. She ended up going to a psychiatrist because she said, maybe I am. And the psychiatrist said, no, there's a medical problem. You need to go back to another doctor and keep searching.
She wasn't able to think quite as clearly as she used to be able to think.
Then 2 weeks later, on one of her better days, as Laura's driving to work, the monster inside her strikes another crippling blow. It was as if the light and volume of the world was turned up full. Every sound was ear-splitting and cut through her body like a knife. Light burned her eyes and skin. Her nervous system was on fire. In pain, weak, drained, her life is slipping away. Laura knows now there's only 2 possible outcomes. Find the condition that was inside her and destroy it, or die. After nearly dying of a reaction to antibiotics in the Dominican Republic, Laura Parsons returned to the United States with little hope of ever finding a cure.
Mom, I'm dying.
And when we heard that, I think my feeling was disbelief. How can it be true?
The past 9 years of Laura's life have been a struggle for survival against something terrible that's trying to kill her. And at this point, it looks like she's going to lose that fight.
From that time on, her health